we recognize the multitude of challenges that weigh heavily upon our beloved Turks and Caicos Islands. In recent times, we have witnessed heart-wrenching crises in these islands. We've had stories of Turks and Caicos Islanders' homes being demolished by this government. We see the toll of crumbling infrastructure throughout the Turks and Caicos Islands, the struggles of rising cost of living in this country, and a growing sense of disillusionment with the current leadership of this country, all of which impact the fabric of our communities. However, it is critical that we focus our discussion today on three pressing crises: crime and violence, illegal immigration, and healthcare. These issues are inextricably intertwined, affecting the safety, security, and well-being of our citizens in profound ways. In just a few hours after this press conference, the Premier of this country will address us on these same issues. Yet, I find it hard to believe that he possessed the moral authority to speak to these issues. After 3.5 years of his governance, what can he truly offer us that he hasn't already tried, or anything that we haven't heard already? A litany of promises and empty rhetoric. We can expect the same old responses. Bring in experts from the UK. How about we use our own experts? A British naval ship to patrol our waters. An effort that amounts to a little more than a fleeting presence. We want our own vessels to patrol our waters. Helicopters from sister territories to be deployed to offer assistance as we wait and hope for solutions. How about we get our own helicopters? Whilst this government haphazardly tries to put together a patchwork of solutions, organized gangsters are killing at will. Whilst this country has never manufactured a single firearm or round of ammunition, our streets seems to be flooded with them because this government never had a plan for crime. In reality, more young men and women has lost their life this year than this government has granted scholarships over the past year. Let that sink in. It's a tragic testament to the realities of the leadership of this country. For most of our lives, the Turks and Caicos Islands has existed as a British overseas territory. Throughout that time, they have held the responsibility for our national security. Yet we've seen our sovereign borders repeatedly breached. The silence of inaction speaks volumes as our resources dwindle and our communities face unprecedented strain. It is evident that we can no longer rely on others to chart our destiny. We must rise together, united with purpose and conviction. We need new leadership. We need PDM leadership. A leadership that prioritizes the needs of our people, embraces innovation, and fosters partnerships rooted in genuine care for our future. Let us come together today, not just to address the challenges before us, but to envision a brighter tomorrow under a PDM government. Together, we can forge a path of resilience and hope, ensuring that the voices of our people are heard and that their needs are met. The PDM is ready, willing, and able to offer proper solutions that can address the current issues in this country as it relates to crime, border security, and healthcare. Speaking next will be our Deputy Leader, the Honorable Robert Bean. Then we'll have our party leader, the Honorable Edwin Aswad, who will be addressing the nation. We also have a number of our candidates sitting here today at our head table, but you'll be hearing primarily from the leader, the deputy leader, and myself, the national chairman. To the members of the media who are present, At question and answer time, please direct all your questions to the leader and the deputy leader at this press conference. Okay, we thank you, and I'll now turn over to our deputy leader, Sir Robert Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to members of the media and to all Turks and Caicos Islanders listening and viewing online. As the National Chair said, we are fully aware that the government just yesterday announced a joint press conference later this afternoon on the issue of crime, and it is my hope that they will be listening to the PDM now as we voice the concerns of the people and discuss solutions to this ongoing crisis. Certainly, today is a sad day. Our hearts are heavy, and many are left in disbelief with the out-of-control crime situation we are facing. Crime is tearing apart our communities, claiming the lives of our young people, particularly our young men. I want to assure the people that this press conference today is not about politics. This is not about scoring political points. Our nation is in a serious crisis, and this is a matter of urgency. We have witnessed 31 murders so far this year, and we are now on track to surpass the record-breaking 34 homicides of 2022. Just this past week, we lost 3 more men, gunned down senselessly. These stats are not just numbers. They represent lives cut short, families left to grieve, and communities ripped apart and gripped by fear. We cannot continue down this path. This path will lead us to destruction. We also cannot ignore the fact that crime in the Turks and Caicos Islands is closely linked to illegal immigration. Our borders are open, and criminal networks are exploiting the vulnerability. Criminal gangs, drug trafficking, and the influx of illegal firearms are fueling the violence we see on our streets today. Illegal immigration is a national security threat that requires immediate attention. A PDM government will implement stronger border control measures, including advanced surveillance technology and increased patrols. We must send a strong message to the violent criminals among us. We no longer can tolerate your operations. A PDM administration will support law enforcement and the people to take back our streets, our neighborhoods, our communities, and our country from criminal enterprises. A PDM government will increase resources, training, and manpower for the Royal Turks and Caicos Police Force. This includes recruiting more officers, enhancing their benefits, equipping them with modern tools they need to combat crime effectively. At the same time, we must also address the root causes of crime. The high cost of living is a serious contributing factor to the crime situation. When persons can't meet their basic needs, when persons struggle to put food on the table or keep a roof over their heads, desperation creeps in. And some may feel they have no other option but to engage in criminal acts to survive. Poverty, unemployment, lack of opportunity are pushing too many of our young people to a life of crime. This is the reality that must be addressed. A PDM government will focus on a holistic approach, one that not only strengthens law enforcement, but also tackles the sole economic factor driving our youth into the arms of gangs. As a young entrepreneur, I understand the value of having an opportunity. When young people are given a chance to succeed, they seize it. But when doors are closed, they are left with little choice but to turn to crime. That's why the PDM is committed to creating more opportunities for our youth. We will establish a national trade school to equip them with the skills they need to enter the workforce with confidence, whether in construction, technology, or hospitality. We will provide the training that opens the door to legitimate employment. By giving our youth a sense of purpose and direction, we can turn them away from crime and violence. We also recognize the importance of community-based crime prevention. Our communities must be a part of the solution. The PDM will implement programs that focus on youth empowerment, job training, and mentorship for at-risk individuals. We must intervene early, offering our youth an alternative path before they are drawn into a life of criminal activities. By addressing the root causes of crime, we can prevent it before it happens. We will also enhance forensic capabilities by establishing a dedicated forensic science laboratory right here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. But we cannot stop there. The PDM recognizes that supporting victims is just as important as preventing crime. We will enhance support services that includes counseling, legal aid, and financial assistance to help them recover from their trauma. A coordinated, accessible system for victim support will be a priority under a PDM government. Finally, to those committing those crimes, I have one message: put down your guns. The path you are on only leads to death or prison. But there's another way. Take up a trade, pursue education, and build a future for yourself and your family. Think of your families, think of your children, and think of the pain your actions are causing so many. I want to assure all Turks and Caicos Islanders that on day one, a PDM government will lay the groundwork to implement these policies to address crime and the root causes of crime. We will act swiftly and decisively. This is not just a fight against crime. It is a fight for the soul of our nation. May God bless the Turks and Caicos Islands, and may we find strength to rise above these crises together. And I thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for that introduction. Deputy Leader, thank you very much for letting the people know exactly what the PDM intends to do. And I want to thank you all once again for joining us here. Thank you all who are tuning in and who will be watching either now or later. And thank you, my distinguished colleagues, for being here today to lend support to these issues facing the Turks and Caicos Islands. As you have heard from the Deputy, he have highlighted certain things that the PDM will be doing. I will add to that and offer a bit more. So my fellow people of the Turks and Caicos Islands, I address you today, not just as your leader of the People's Democratic Movement, but as a concerned citizen, a neighbor, a friend. Our islands, known for its breathtaking beauty and vibrant culture, are now marred by an alarming rise in gun violence and crime. As you have heard and have seen in the news, this year alone we have witnessed some 31 lives lost to senseless violence. Each one of these individuals had a story. Each one of these individuals had a family. Each one of these individuals had dreams that have been shattered. We must ask ourselves, how many more lives must be lost before decisive action is taken? How many families must be shattered before the Premier and his government acknowledge the gravity of the situation? The impact of violence extends far beyond the streets. It is now threatening the very foundation of our healthcare system. It is unacceptable that our hospitals have to suspend admissions and visitations over and over again due to threats posed by gunshot victims. This is not just a gap in law enforcement. It is a total failure of leadership. When our healthcare professionals are unable to provide care because they fear for the lives and safety of their patients and themselves, we know that we have reached a critical juncture in our country. Additionally, our hospitals are unequipped to handle multiple gunshot victims. That is now becoming a trend, which will leave people vulnerable at their most desperate times. Where are our intensive care units? Where are the changes to the treatment abroad unit? A PDM government will ensure that we now, this day and age, 2024 and beyond, establish an intensive care unit here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. We will continue the work that was started under the former PDM administration to revamp and rebrand the treatment abroad program, extending the network of hospitals that we send our people to include in that network hospitals right nearby in Miami, Florida, which is very close. The situation cannot arise where persons are begging to be sent to their doctors where they have insurance and we do not have a hybrid system that will enable that to happen. This, your PDM government, will ensure that those hybrid systems are in place. All this points to a lack of leadership that cannot continue. This government had ample time to address the escalating violence in our communities, yet we see little more than empty promises and inactive policies. The Turks and Caicos Islands need comprehensive and strategic approach to combating crime, one that prioritizes safety of all our citizens and the well-being of our healthcare system. To the current government, your inactions is not just disappointing, it is also dangerous to our people. The people of the Turks and Caicos Islands deserve better. They deserve a government that prioritizes their safety. They deserve a government that stands up to threats that we face. And they deserve a government that works tirelessly to restore peace and security in all our communities. As your PDM government, the People's Democratic Movement, we are committed to turning this crisis around. If entrusted with the responsibility of governance, our People's Democratic Movement government will implement comprehensive, versatile, and flexible approaches to restore safety and security in our islands from day one. Measures that are adaptable to changing circumstances. Here are some of those policy recommendations that we will put in place. The Deputy Premier to be have already stated some, and I'll just add to them. You heard about strengthening of the law enforcement. Yes, we will greatly enhance funding for our police force, ensuring that staff are at optimal level, ensuring that equipment is at optimal level, and ensuring that training is at optimal level. Not adequate, not some, not given a few, optimal level for success to tackle crime and violence effectively. These things include mobile units. A PDM government will equip law enforcement with a diverse fleet of land, air, and sea vehicles that are specific and tailor-made to the unique challenges facing the Turks and Caicos Islands. As you heard, we want to establish, and we will establish, that integrated forensic intelligence unit. Your PDM government will create a specialized forensic intelligence unit that combines forensic proficiency with intelligence analysis capabilities to support complex investigations, connecting evidence across cases and providing critical insight to law enforcement and prosecutors. You heard of community policing initiatives. We will establish a robust community policing program that fosters trust and collaboration between law enforcement and the people of our communities. Crime prevention programs. Your PDM government will implement community-based crime prevention programs that focus on education, outreach, and engagement to address the root causes of criminal behavior and promote positive alternatives. We have a Turks and Caicos Islands consultant who have already developed a comprehensive program. This program was presented to both me and the Premier of the Turks and Caicos Islands. But true to nature, because it was from a Turks and Caicos Islander, I don't believe he even looked at it. And if he had taken the chance to look at those proposals, he would see that the things in that proposal are groundbreaking and very comprehensive. I will be engaging the services of this Turks and Caicos Islander consultant from day one. And I know you are watching and you are surprised to hear me saying that from day one, we will be engaging your services because a program has been made, tailor-made for the Turks and Caicos Islands. Other Caribbean countries are trying to get this consultant to give them that program that he made for his people, and he's holding on to it. He presented it to myself and the Premier. The Premier refused it. Your PDM government will not refuse that. Public safety and emergency response. The PDM is committed to prioritizing public safety and emergency response in the Turks and Caicos Islands. We will be enhancing and expanding CCTV operations, improving the 911 services, and introducing innovative systems and technological solutions. Crisis response team. We will develop a specialized response team to address incidents of gun violence, ensuring that healthcare facilities are prepared to handle multiple victims without compromising safety. Independent oversight body. Your PDM government will establish an independent oversight body to monitor and evaluate the performance of law enforcement agencies, ensuring transparency, accountability, and adhering to the best practices in crime prevention and investigations. As you heard from the Deputy, Victim Support Services. Your PDM government strongly believe in supporting the victims of violent crimes. We believe it is crucial that victim support services are in place to assist those who have been affected by criminal activities. We will enhance support services for victims of crime, as you heard, including counseling, legal assistance, yes, relocating if they need to be relocated somewhere else, out of the country, wherever they need to be relocated. We will have that program in place, and financial aid to help those victims along the way. Youth programs and job creations. As you heard from the Deputy, to combat crime, the root causes of violence, we will invest in youth programs that provide education, mentorship, and employment opportunities. Mental health and support services. We will enhance mental health services to support for those who have been affected by violence, ensuring that victims and their families receive the care they need to cope, the care they need to heal, and the care they need to rebuild their lives. public awareness campaigns. We will launch public awareness campaigns to educate our communities about the dangers of gun violence and other forms of crime, and on the importance of reporting suspicious activities, fostering a culture of vigilance and responsibility. The Turks and Caicos Islands stands at a crossroads. The path we choose will determine the future of our islands. The government we choose will either lead us in the right direction or continue to lead us down a path of decline, death, and devastation. We must come together as a people to demand change. We must come together as a people to demand safety, and we must come together as a people to demand accountability from those people elected to lead the country. The PDM government is ready to lead with a vision and courage. We invite you to join us in this fight for a safer and more secure Turks and Caicos Islands. If not now, when? It is now or never. Thank you, and let us work together to reclaim our islands from this grip of violence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Leader. We will now entertain any questions from the media, those who may have any questions in-house. There's a microphone sitting in that area. It just needs to be turned on, and you're free to ask questions to the leader and deputy leader.
Good day, Mr. Leader and everyone at the head table. The name is Vivian Tyson from Newsline TCI. In the past, we had outlets of police stations. We had one in Blue Hills, and we had one in Five Keys. Unfortunately, those stations are actually closed now. Under a PDM administration, will you reinstate those stations and probably others?
Yes, thank you very much. That is something that you will actually see outlined heavily in the PDM manifesto, where we have multiple stations, where you have the police station and the community clinic side by side. So we want to bring back not just the police element, but we also want to bring back the health element to those communities. So you'll see community stations along with those community clinics popping up, being established throughout the Turks and Caicos Islands. Not just the police stations, but also those community clinics also side by side, adjacent.
You also mentioned about oversight for the police.
Yes.
Why has that become necessary?
Yes, we have seen best practices. If you look at the Cayman model, you'll see they have a police services commission, and that is something I have been advocating to be included in our constitution, that we have a police services commission. So the PDM government has strongly believed that there need to be external oversight to account. You cannot police yourself and monitor yourself, just like how every statutory body has a board to monitor the activities of that board. The police services need some kind of commission, some kind of external body to monitor the activities, to insist in hiring that a neutral body, and we are strong by having that oversight body for the police services, whether you call it a police services commission or whatever, as it's called in the Cayman Islands. But we are strongly pushing that, and we'll make sure that that is implemented.
Zoya Fassler, Radio Turks and Caicos. Just piggybacking off of oversight,
Yes.
government parties, both sides, don't have direct control over national security. It falls under the governor. So how will you take control of this differently if you were to become the government of the day?
Well,
You have all of these plans,
yes,
and how would
thank-
you take that over?
Thank you very much. I'm going to start by saying nobody elected a UK governor to run the country. They elect officials from the Turks and Caicos Islands, and it is our duty to run the country, and we are in control of the budget. So that is how we're going to take oversight. We control the money, we control the budget, and we're going to ensure that our police, our law enforcement have the things that our people are demanding. We're not going to wait on the UK to come down. Like the chairman said, we won't wait on them to send helicopters or send a boat. We are committed to getting our own. If we cannot get it in one budget, we'll do it in 2 budgets, but we make sure that we will get our own. We are in control of the budget. The people have elected us, and I won't be calling the governor to appear be with me in any press conference. You do what you have to do, but I have to do for my people, so I can come to my people myself. I do not need you to hold my hand. I do not need no UK governor, no commissioner of police to hold my hand. I will liaise with the commissioner and come, get the information, and my team and I will bring it to our people. But you will see somebody's hand getting hold later on today.
Honorable Astwood, you were very vocal earlier this year when we had the American tourists who visited with the ammunition. Now we have this string of gun violence going on. What is your current views on gun control laws, and do you have plans to tighten or relax these regulations in any way?
Yes, thank you very much. As the chairman said, that no guns are made in the Turks and Caicos Islands. We have a lot of loopholes that guns are coming into the country that we are not checking. I want to put out some of them. We have yucks coming in. Are we checking them for guns? Because we always think that all the guns come from our neighbors to the south. But our neighbors to the south do not make guns neither. Think about it. So we are looking at ways to enhance monitoring at our ports, at our seaports, and not just at our seaport, vessels, whatever vessels are coming to the Turks and Caicos Islands. We want to have a system to monitor and screen what are those vessels bringing to the country. So not just focusing on the Haitian boat coming in, the Dominican boat coming in, or the Jamaican boat coming in. There are other vessels coming toward this country that we are missing. Just because they are a different color or not from this region, we turn a blind eye. But this PDM government will uncover every stone to make sure we root out guns in the country.
Zoya, I'll add to the leader's comment, and I'll invoke my over 2 decades of customs experience here. We have to be realistic that there's technology that exists that can also print guns, 3D printers. These are things we have to be cognizant of in terms of what is entering this country. And that means fortifying our border security teams and ensuring that they're aware of these things and they're trained. And that means enhancing our ports with X-ray machines. It's about time that this country have a container X-ray machine to understand what's coming in containers. It's about time for us to have a well-established container stripping station where those suspected containers that people might be smuggling prohibited or restricted goods in can properly be examined. And I'll take it even a step further, because this PDM team simply don't believe in doing things the rudimentary way. We are innovative. We're thinking about doing things differently. And we have to look further afield and have a more proactive approach to the importation of firearms and ammunition. And if that means sitting and fostering an agreement with U.S. Customs to have a team on the ground in the United States for the pre-clearance of goods that we think need to be screened prior to entry into this country, then that is what we'll do. No stone will be left unturned. You're looking at a cadre of people sitting at this table and a cadre of people that is a part of this PDM team who are forward thinkers, and we believe that we can tackle many of the challenges that currently face our country in terms of the importation of firearms and ammunition. Thank you.
I'll add to that also. He missed one other thing. We'll even add a full mechanic shop at the port if we have to, because if we have to take a vehicle apart and reassemble it, we'll do that, because guns come, they could come in the tires, they could come in the door panels, they could come in the spare tire in the trunk. You have big music in the car, it comes in the speaker boxes, guns, drugs, everything. So if we got to take it apart and put it back, we'll do that. We'll also have X-ray machines at the airport on arrival, not only for departures. We can screen your luggage, even coming through on the baggage cards. So we're ready to do what needs to be done to protect our citizens of this country.
Yes, and I know you all are surprised. You're hearing it first, things that you never hear in the Turks and Caicos Islands. This team is ready to deliver. Now the others, they have their people watching and taking notes and going to go and try and run it out. But do it because it's for the good of our people. Yes. So take the notes as you did, because I can tell you, they never talk about an armored vehicle until the deputy went on one of the last PTV shows and talk about armored vehicles. And then in the next budget, they had it. But we didn't mind because we gave it to the people. And we have more. So if they want to take these things to protect the people, they can. But we suddenly will be putting it in place.
Good afternoon. Bill Chiara, Eagle Legal News. One of my questions, I have a few. One of my questions is in relation to illegal immigration. What I would like to hear from you is how this PDM government, when it takes office, would address illegal immigration, specifically on the areas of the cost of repatriation that is killing this country, because obviously we may not be able to stop them, but the interception rate and the repatriation is costing this country. And what we would like to know is what the PDM government will do to come back on that cost of the detention center and the flights going back to Haiti on a regular basis. I don't know who can address that or who would like to address that.
Yeah, all of us would like to address it, but I'll let the deputy start.
Good evening again. As we know, and we have known this for years, it has been a strain on our financial sector, and I said it time and time again. It takes a while to process these illegals. They are held here for far too long, and what it does, these are opportunities, are missed opportunities that these funds could have been directed towards health, scholarships, and the list goes on. But to answer your question, we, the PDM government, we have already decided that in year one, we will build and develop more relationships, international, and also put in place measures that detect these boats before they even come into our borders. We need a proper holding facilities that will process and repatriate these individuals back to their native country. The issue is basically we have a detention center, and as we can see what happens in that detention center, we are holding some illegals sometime for up to a week or two. And we need a system in place where that these holding facilities, as they are caught or pulled in, they fingerprinted, documented, information is taken, and then they are sent right back right away. Even if it means, as the leader would have said, you know, having that boat that's patrolling our borders, that they send them right back out right away. Because there's no need, in our view, for these illegals to come straight into our shores. We plan on day one, year one, to do our best to have that reduced. And the best way to have that reduced, more ocean surveillance, drone footages, helicopters, more boat controls, motor patrols, not just on Providence Isles, the nation's capital, West Caicos, East Caicos, air policing. Right now, we currently don't know how many Haitians are being held in those uninhabited islands, if they are or if there isn't. So right now, we need more boots on the ground. This is an approach where we need a team that is not just going to come into this country to sit and enjoy our beautiful beaches like what we see currently happening right now. The government is hiring people from other countries. They're coming here, they're getting too relaxed and forgetting the main idea of their job, their roles, their description. But on day one and year one, we the PDM will ensure that our streets are cleaned up from illegals that are supplying guns, producing drugs, not producing drugs, but bringing in drugs, and influencing our young men into this life of crime. And we'll ensure that the resources are provided to not just the police, but to the immigration department.
I just want to add to fill in some more gaps, what he's saying with the eyes on the water. We have already engaged with professionals in and the industry to see what keys are best to put out stations, out satellite stations on. And they have already given us that feedback. We won't release it here, but we have already got the feedback that we can cover from Soul Key straight down to West Caicos. So we already have those feedbacks. We already have the automatic flare systems that we are engaging, the water sensors. And like the deputy said, the drone, that is something that we want to engage our young people to get into, drone piloting, because that is going to be a big part of our program, to have those drones out there. We're going to need pilots, and we're going to get our people trained for that. And like the deputy said, processing at sea. Because if we can, at the end, budgets take $7-8 million to buy a piece of land that we never use, buy a hotel that is sitting up and get ventilate, just messed up. So why can't we take some of that money and buy a processing boat that we can process right out there? We can process and take back at the same time. We don't have to reach the Turks and Caicos Island. We can have a big enough boat that you can have the doctors, you can have food, you can have everything right on that boat, medical care, police, immigration, processing, and you can get them back. And we can afford those boats. If we can afford all these properties that we are not doing anything with and going to waste, we can suddenly afford one vessel to be out there, like the deputy said, to process at sea, so to decrease the cost here.
Well, as you know, Mr. Arthur, we did once had the air-wing aircraft that would have patrolled, Turks and Caicos. So we do intend to reinstate that and to have that deployed.
Very good, very good. Rehabilitation at the prison. That area there, I believe, is lacking. Not I believe, I know is lacking seriously. And I would like to know, if you guys become the government of the day, what are your approach on rehabilitation at the prison? Because we're talking about crime, but the cure point is at the prison. The cure point is the guys and the girls that are in there. If we can get them rehabilitated, then we would have a revolving door of the same people, mostly the same people, coming out and committing the same offenses or even worse offenses. So what I would like to hear from you guys on how you intend to approach rehabilitation, because most governments, I've been through there, most governments lack the prison. They come through, they do the walk, they speak and they communicate, but they lack the prison seriously and not take time and approach the real core issue of the Turks and Caicos, which is rehabilitating our men.
Honorable Leader, I'll have something to say. I'll start on this and have you finish. Mr. Arthur, whilst the Turks and Caicos Islands might not be aware of this, this government currently don't even have a parole board in place, right? So that tells you their lack of concern for rehabilitation and adding value back to persons who've been incarcerated. Now, this PDM government believes in an analytic process. We'll see what the situation demands. That means hearing from those who are in charge, what those challenges are. I'm not going to sit here today as an expert in that field, but I know by simply not having a parole board in place, you're denying people an opportunity for their freedom. That might even be a human rights violation. Right? And the government is sitting idly by, and this seems not to be an important issue for them. Right? Secondly, with my proximity to this government, while I'm not a candidate, right, I believe that this PDM government, should we be given the opportunity to govern, has to provide scholarship opportunities for these people who have been incarcerated also. Right? They're still Turks and Caicos Islanders. They're still citizens of this country, and we're responsible as their leaders to add value back to their lives, right? And whatever it takes for us to help with that rehabilitation process, as a government, we have to step up to the plate. And the leader will probably get tired of me, but if we tell this country we're going to do something, even people who've been incarcerated, we have to do it. or at least make an attempt. And if we don't know how, find somebody who knows how. It's our responsibility to add value to the lives of Turks and Caicos Islanders, even if you've been incarcerated. So I'll let the leader.
Just keep in mind, even during the last administration, I think it was called Chance for Change program, that would have already, taken off the ground. You see, in these programs where it offers alternative sentences, right? Having an opportunity, whether it be to obtain your degree or even your high school diploma. These were initiatives that were already in the process of moving forward. But somehow, of course, once this new government, current government got in place, nothing continued or developed from it. So we, that you see up here, and our other members that can't be here, we are one that is passionate about restoring hope back into the lives of most especially our young men. I can tell you, I can remember when I visited the prison when I was a kid, and I would say today, the prison, they had more opportunities and chance to actually ease back into society back then. Because those persons that were in prison, some of them, majority of them today are law-abiding citizens, have families, has businesses, and you wouldn't believe these were people that actually spent time in prison. And I'm not talking about 6 months or 8 months, who did real time in prison.
Yes. And I just want to bring it home. If any one of us go and visit the prison, you will hear people calling your names. These are people we know. These are our neighbors, our classmates' children. These are our children, our people inside the prison. You'll hear, hey, Honorable Aswad, hey, Eddie, how you doing? And you're like, who's that, who's that? That's the truth, reality of it. But piggybacking off the chance for change. When I was working at the hospital, I would go to the prison every day and pick up 3 inmates, myself, in my vehicle. They check out, and then we will take them to the hospital, and they will walk there. No officer, myself. Just go to the prison, pick up 3 inmates who will be working at the hospital. At the end of the day, I was responsible for getting them back in the prison. Nobody escaped. They had a chance for change. They had a chance to integrate into the society. But we want to formalize that, to go further in details. We want to put in music programs into the prison where you can learn an instrument, where you can learn how to make songs. So while you're in there, you're creating music, you're creating songs, you're creating lyrics, you're recording it, you're releasing it. We want to develop a program that we have a budget put aside, that when they come out, these are contracts. These are contracts allocated for these people. We want them to be educated, that if you want to get a degree in prison, you can come out with your bachelor's, your master's, and wherever time, PhD. We want you to come out. So that is what we're looking at, that we want these programs put inside there. So you can come out with a trade. You can come out with something instead of them in and out of prison. And we will have that budget that is made for those persons who come out. So if you want a job painting, you want to set up your business, whatever, we have a budget for you to work. You don't have to go worry about people unemploying you. The government should be the first person to employ you, give you a chance, give you a job, either a job or a chance to start a business. And that's what we have in place. And you would see more details of that in the PDM manifesto that will be released soon.
Honorable Aswad, just piggybacking off of that, we have the newly formed Department of Rehabilitation, and we've also seen some success stories with the TVET program going into the prison, with some persons receiving certifications, etc. But the Department of Rehabilitation is, I don't think, operating at their full potential because of maybe financial constraints, staffing restraints, what have you. What would you do to assist that department in getting up and running for this rehabilitation? And what would you say? I know that they have some partnerships with a few private establishments on the island for getting some offenders back into the system. What would you say to these people as well to get on board to assist in this rehabilitative program in the country? Because it is a country and community effort. What would you say?
Yes, I would start where I started a while ago. These are our kids, these are our neighbors' kids, these are our classmates' children. These are not strangers. You know, even if they have a last name that isn't from here, it's somebody who have worked with your parents, worked with your father, it's their children. So we have to get the right persons employed. We need the staff. We need the counselors. We need counselors who can understand, who can relate. So the rehabilitation center must be equipped with counselors. They must be equipped with teachers. They must be equipped with those nurses. They must be equipped with people from the religious background who can do their morning devotions, who can do the prayers for them, who can talk to them. So we're looking at a holistic point of view with the rehabilitation, not just prison officers and wardens. We want a whole team up at HMP, a whole team, psychiatrists, mental health professionals, their clergy, their teachers, and their professionals who will teach them a trade. And that is what we're looking for. So we're not only looking at teachers in the high school and all that in the high school. And again, that is outlined in the PDM manifesto for rehabilitation at our prisons.
Mr. Leader, we often hear of crime in the community. Even this press conference, you talk about crime and how you're going to and all of that. But we haven't heard anything about schools because we have heard of gangs in the communities, and we heard that they're connected to the schools. So how are you going to go into the schools to thwart young people from joining these gangs?
Yes. You can come on. I'll just start and let the deputy take this one also. You will hear us talking about our youth programs and our after-school programs. For instance, everyone here over the age of 40 would remember a time that every night in every constituency you would have basketball games. You know, you will have your teams. Instead of having games, you will have your community teams. You'll have your football teams, your basketball teams, your softball teams. You will have these teams. You will have these youth activities. We had vibrant teen times. We had vibrant youth clubs. We had vibrant scouts. We had all these youth activities to divert people from crime. But now everybody just wants to give the child a phone and tell them go in the room and watch and play a game. Mortal Kombat, how to kill people. The next one with the police and shooting down. What do you think they're learning? They're being desensitized about killing and shooting those things. So we want to get into schools. We want those youth programs that we have identified early to catch them when they're young. Not in high school, in fourth and fifth form. We need to start from the primary school. And we want to have those professionals in the school who can identify deviant behavior early to see that this child is staying by herself, this child isn't interacting. So we need to get this child some counseling, some program, see what is going on home. Not teachers who will just ignore the children. Something is wrong with Billy. Why is Billy over there by herself? Why is Billy not interacting with the children? Why is Billy falling asleep every day in the class? Why is Billy homework not done? People who can understand and go and see what is the root cause. So that's when you see, when we talk about our youth programs, that is what it entails. Getting into schools, but from primary schools, to identify it early. You have to identify those things when it's early. You can't wait till they reach 15, 16.
Just this morning, we heard news that Instagram has implemented some measures aimed at young people to sort of curtail some of the information that they would have access to. Violence, sexual activities and stuff like that. In Turks and Caicos, we have seen via social media a number of people, including high-profile people like yourself, being vilified, being ostracized, and you guys are innocent. I'm talking about you, people in the community, vilified and bad things talked about them, lies even, and where they're innocent of. Now, would a PDM government implement probably an ordinance, something, to hold those people accountable? When you look at some of the social media pages and the postings, the persons who post them, they're anonymous, but we know that they're administrators. So would there be plans in place to actually hold those administrators accountable for these things that people are saying about people in the community, which they are defamatory. They defame them in so many ways. So would the government look at something like that?
Yeah, thank you for that one. That's a good one. Again, I like to tell, every time I have the opportunity to actually speak to young people, this is first words one of the first words that come out of my mouth. Most social media sometimes can be seen good with a lot of its advantages, but sometimes it has also a lot of disadvantage with a lot of negativity. And on top of that, majority of stuff that is posted on social media is fake. A lot of people are portraying a certain lifestyle that most young people, most especially, let me tie in the school question that you asked, are going based off. With the world of technology today, and this would be something where the government of the day, which we intend to be, will have to sit with our internet providers. You can go into any country, those bigger countries, most especially when you speak of universities, larger establishment. You can try to access certain websites. It doesn't pull up. There's a block there. I'm not an IT person, but this is something that I've always known about, and I've always said this needs to be implemented into our school systems. Parents actually would need to pay for a package such as that in their home systems, that it would actually restrict, even if the kids or minors actually to change their ages to actually access those sites. Because as you know, most sites you just have to change the year of your age and basically you have access to it. There's no restriction as it stands in Turks and Caicos when it comes to going on the internet. You can actually access any website in the world. And this is something where a government will have to sit with those internet providers and try to see how we can actually implement those kind of things. We can go ahead and say, yes, we'll do it, but of course the internet providers would be the one that will have to be the one to put those measures in place. So just to piggyback off the leader and the national chair as we are speaking about the schools, what's currently missing in our schools, most especially our public schools, is more access to guidance counselors, mentorship programs. I said on one of my interviews, and I said, we have to know who's the messenger. We have a lot of people that we see host these events and speaking to our youths, our young kids. But the truth and reality, you see a whole room fill up with kids. But are they paying attention? One. Second, are these at-risk kids? Majority of the time, no. It's just law-abiding citizens, countrymen, that sends their kids to these events. We have to know our messenger, and we have to implement stronger mentorship program. Me, for one, I'm currently mentoring a few young men right now. In fact, it took me one trip to the Clement Hall High School. I was invited, I think it was last year sometime. And out of all the mentors that were there, and I'm not saying this just because it was me, but it was myself along with Sean Bassett. We had one classroom full of kids. And up to today, we always keep in contact with those guys. And for me, I have one that comes to me at least once a month to get updates, to see where he's at, to see where it's best I can assist him. And these are young kids that are out of school today. In fact, like I said, this happened last year or year before last. So to continue on a relationship, checking up on these kids, and these kids were actually the disruptive kids in the class that day. So for these kids today that says, listen, just wanted an opportunity, nobody actually sits and listens to us. We, not just politicians, elected officials or candidates, the businessmen of this community, the Christians in this community, the regular fathers of this community, we need to go and actually hold those young guys' hand and actually give them opportunities, educate them on the importance, and just make them feel important, because that's all they want. And if we don't do it, they turn to a life of crime where they are welcome.
So to speak, thank you very much for that. And you see why he's willing and able Deputy Premier to be. To speak directly to legislation, recently in a conference in Guyana with the Caribbean brothers and sisters parliamentarians, one of the main topics there was the use of AI in legislation. Now, some persons in attendance said that we cannot legislate for something we don't know is going to target. But others like myself say, no, we can put in legislation for what we know now And as legislation, we can always come back and amend as time goes on. So that is the same thing that I am saying for the Turks and Caicos Islands. We don't have to wait for it. We can see what is there now. Because right now, somebody in this election can have a video with my voice saying that I hate this, I hate that, I hate that, I hate the other, I'm against this, and it's not me. Poor me, somewhere home, trying to take over the country from these people, you know, trying to see how we're going to do it, but they have my voice out there saying these things. So we need legislation to govern and to legislate against what we have now. And also, any platform, the administrator should be held accountable, just like Facebook or anything. If you put up nude pictures, if you use the N-word and anti-Semitic language, they will take it down automatically. So it have to be a responsibility of those administrators to police their platform and take down any derogatory, anything that is inflammatory to others. So definitely legislation is needed, and I believe that that legislation can be amended as we see the uses of this artificial intelligence and other social media platforms evolve.
So this is my final question.
Final question, please.
Yes. When, say, the PNP is out of power, they may say, you know, this is what we're going to do for education, this is what we're going to do for health, this is what we're going to do for so-and-so. When the PDM is out of power, they say, this is what we're going to do for that, this is what we'll do for that, this is what we'll do for that. Could you tell us the policy difference between the PDM and the PNP? What sets you apart from the government?
You all want to start or want to?
I'll start on this.
Yeah, we'll come down.
If you look at the history of our political ideologies, you'll see that our genesis as parties began in different elements of society. The PDM has always been a grassroots, small man looking out for the people who no one else wants to look out for. And primarily our policies would have evolved around the empowerment of people, right? And the PDM's policies are always inclusive policies. We focus on the entire country. We focus on the vulnerable. We don't forget them. We bring everybody along. We give everyone a handout, right? And if you look at the political history of this country, whenever there's a PDM government, the fiscal management of the resources of this country is always intact. When you look at the Yellow Party, there's always a crisis following their governance. They are crisis creators, we are problem solvers. That's the basic analogy I'll give to that question, and I'll let the leader and the deputy leader follow on.
Yes, thank you very much. The national chairman have me blushing, you know. It says correctly. And taking off from where he left off. We have always been about the people. That's why we are called the People's Democratic Movement. Now, yes, with every organization and everything, sometimes we lose our way in our mission. But I am here to say that we are back on track, that the people must always prosper under a PDM government. The people must always succeed under a PDM government. The people must always benefit first under a PDM government. And we are sticking to that principle, that the people comes first. We are here for the people. We are not going to shy away from our representation of the people. It's the people who put us here, and the people are our bosses. Not the person giving me money, not the person sitting up in the UK. It's the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands who we have to account for. And people would call us, who are inside the House of Assembly a lot of times, oh, you all are bandwagoners. Wherever the people say out there, you all want to jump on and board and come to the House. I say, but you have to be crazy if you don't think that that is your job. We are representing the people 100 of you all cannot come into this house and make a representation on your behalf. So you send me to the house to make representation on your behalf. And whatever is your problem is my problem. Whatever is agitating you, I have to agitate me, and I have to say that. So we are committed to the people. We are not committed to any foreign body. We are not committed to enriching ourselves to a fault. That people always say that, you know, oh, the PDM, they don't like money. So yeah, everybody like nice things. But we're not going to put enriching ourselves ahead of our people. And we know if we all be realistic and be true to ourselves, we know the PNP is all about enriching themselves. Nobody out there, nobody inside here can back me on that if they want to be truthful. They are all about enriching themselves and their families. We are about the people. Nobody can say none of us are inside here to enrich ourselves. We are about the people. And with this government, we want to see you succeed. This rising tide must float all boats, and the people will be better off under a PDM government. We will succeed, and we will get these problems fixed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Leader. Thank you for your questions, members of the press. As we conclude this press conference, I want to leave you with a crucial thought. If we don't protect the future of the Turks and Caicos Islands, who will? Who's going to do it? The British government has been tasked with this responsibility for decades. They've failed us. I wouldn't mention PNP administrations. It is evident that we can no longer rely on others to chart our destiny. We must rise together, united with purpose and conviction. We need new leadership at the helm of the Turks and Caicos Islands. We need PDM leadership. We need leadership that prioritizes the needs of our people, embraces innovation, and fosters partnerships rooted in genuine care. It is imperative that we choose leaders who not only care, but are committed to developing a clear, actionable plan for our people's survival and prosperity. We need men and women who recognize the urgency of our circumstances and are willing to fight tirelessly for the well-being of every Turks and Caicos Islander. That group of leaders stand before you today, ready, willing, and capable. Our PDM team. The time for change is now. Let us stand united in our resolve to secure a brighter, safer, and more prosperous future for all of us. Thank you for your attention today, your support, and your dedication to the Turks and Caicos Islands. Together, we'll make the change that needs to happen in this country to keep us safe. Thank you, and thank you for joining us.